welcome to the Let's Read portion of the show, where we take a moment to appreciate the literature of Skyrim. Today, we will be reading A Brief History of the Empire, Volume 2. A Brief History of the Empire, Part 2, by Stronarch Catharge III, Imperial Historian. Volume 1 of this series described in brief the lives of the first 8 emperors of the Septim dynasty, beginning with the glorious Tiber Septim and ending with his great-great-great-great-grandniece, Quintiria II. Quintiria's murder in Glen Point, while in captivity, is considered by some to be the end of the pure strain of Septim blood in the imperial family. Certainly, it marks the end of something significant. Uriel III not only proclaimed himself Emperor of Tamriel, but also Uriel Septim III, taking the eminent surname as a title. In truth, his surname was Mantirco, from his father's line. In time, Uriel III was disposed and his crimes revealed, but the tradition of taking the name Septim as a title for the Emperor of Tamriel did not die with him. For 6 years, the War of the Red Diamond, which takes its name from the Septim family's famous badge, tore the empire apart. The combatants were the 3 surviving children of Pelagus II, Potama, Sepphoris, and Magnus, and their various offspring. Potama, of course, supported her son, Uriel III, and had the combined support of all Skyrim and northern Morrowind. With the efforts of Sepphoris and Magnus, however, the province of High Rock turned coat. The province of Hammerfell, Somerset Isle, Valenwood, Elsewhere, and Black Marsh were divided in their loyalty, but most kings supported Sepphoris and Magnus. In the Third Era, 127, Uriel III was captured at the Battle of Ichdag in Hammerfell. En route to his trial in the imperial city, a mob overtook his prison's carriage and burned him alive within it. His captor and uncle continued on to the imperial city, and by common acclaim was proclaimed Sepphoris I, Emperor of Tamriel. Sepphoris' reign was marked by nothing but war. By all accounts, he was a kind and intelligent man, but what Tamriel needed was a great warrior, and he, fortunately, was that. It took an additional 10 years of constant warfare for him to defeat his sister Potama, the so-called Wolf Queen of Solitude, who died in the siege of her city-state in the year 137. Sepphoris survived his sister by only 3 years. He never had time during the war years to marry, so it was his brother, the 4th child of Pelagus II, who assumed the throne. The Emperor Magnus was already elderly when he took up the imperial diadem, and the business of punishing the traitorous kings of the War of the Red Diamond drained much of his remaining strength. Legend accuses Magnus's son and heir, Pelagus III, of fratricide, but that seems highly unlikely, for no other reason than that Pelagus was king of Solitude following the death of Potama, and seldom visited the imperial city. Pelagus III, sometimes called Pelagus the Mad, was proclaimed emperor in the 145th year of the Third Era. Almost from the start, his eccentricities of behavior were noted at court. He embarrassed dignitaries, offended his vassals king, and on one occasion marked the end of an imperial grand ball by attempting to hang himself. His long-suffering wife was finally awarded the reign of Tamriel, and Pelagus III was sent to a series of healing institutions and asylums until his death in the Third Era 153, at the age of 34. The Empress Regent of Tamriel was proclaimed Empress Katria I upon the death of her husband. Some who do not mark the end of the Septim bloodline with the death of Kintaria II consider the ascension of this dark elf woman the true mark of its decline. Her defenders, on the other hand, assert that though Katria was not descended from Tiber, the son she had with Pelagus was, so the imperial chain did continue. Despite racist assertions to the contrary, Katria's 46-year reign was one of the most celebrated in Tamriel's history. Uncomfortable in the imperial city, Katria traveled extensively throughout the empire, such as no emperor ever had since Tiber's day. She repaired much of the damage that previous emperors' broken alliances and bungled diplomacy created. The people of Tamriel came to love their empress far more than the nobility did. Katria's death in a minor skirmish in Black Marsh is a favorite subject of conspiracy-minded historians. The sage, Montulus' discovery, for instance, of a disenfranchised branch of the Septim family and their involvement with the skirmish was a revelation indeed. When Cassander assumed the throne upon the death of his mother, he was already middle-aged. Only half-elf, he aged like a Breton. In fact, he had left the rule of Wayrest to his half-brother, Uriel, due to poor health. Nevertheless, as the only true blood relation to Pelagus and thus Tiber, he was pressed into accepting the throne. To no one's surprise, the Emperor Cassander's reign did not last long. In 2 years, he joined his predecessors in eternal slumber. Uriel Larate, Cassander's half-brother, and the child of Katria I and her imperial consort Guinevere Lariette, after the death of Pelagus III, left the kingdom of Wayrest to reign as Uriel IV. Legally, Uriel IV was a septim. Cassander had adopted him into the royal family when he had become king of Wayrest. Nevertheless, to the council and the people of Tamriel, he was a bastard child of Katria. Uriel did not possess the dynamism of his mother, and his long 43-year reign was a hotbed of sedation. Uriel IV's story is told in the 3rd volume of this series. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Shadows Let's Read the Books of Skyrim.